So to create our logo animation, we need to slice a mesh. In 3ds Max, we have different ways to slice something, and you can do a slicing using the basic tools inside the software, or if you like, we have some scripts, free scripts, like Simple Slicer, and you can find it on the ScriptSpot website. Or you can use the multi-slicer. There is the Pro version that is a commercial script, but you can also download there the free version. That tools gives you the possibility to break and to slice the mesh just using a really automatic way. So you have just to decide how many slices, and that's all. The sliced shape is regular, so if you like to create something custom, you have to do it manually. So let's see first of all how the slicing works. So let's create just, for example, a letter. Let's say that we use the M. Okay, we have the M there. Then we can use the extrude to have the 3D version, and then we need to work on the slicing shape. So for example, we can decide to slice using some circle. So we can start with this one, and then we can create using the shift key other slices, and we make all copies. Okay, so you see I'm trying to do something simple just to understand how it works. Okay, nice. So we have to create some cutter, and the cutter are some meshes that can cut the other one. So let's change the interpolation for the various spline to adaptive to have really nice curve. Okay, nice. Then we have to select all the spline we created. We go to add an extrude. Let's go to C. Okay, nice. Let's go to extrude the first one to see how it works. Let's remove the capping, and we can do the same. So let's copy with the right mouse button this one, and then we can paste the same using the instance. So we can manipulate just one modifier over a mesh, and all the other one will obtain the same changes. Paste again, and the last one. Okay, we have our text, and we have the cutter. Let's do it a little bit bigger, and let's pick all the cutter and move it so we can cut the mesh. Nice. So let's select the first one. This one will be a cutter. I'm just adding another segments if we like to have a more complex cutter. We can manipulate it. Then we have to go inside the compound objects, Pro Cutter, and now we can select all the other cutters. So pick cutter, and we can select this one, the other one, and all the other circle. So we have all the circle, and now we have to decide which is the stock object, so the object that needs to be cut. We made the cut, but you see that we have just a piece of our letter. So that's why there inside the cutter parameters we have the cutting option. You see that we have stock outside cutter. So in this way we are maintaining the part of meshes that are out of the cutter shape. If we say to maintain, for example, you see the stock inside the cutter, we have just the shape inside the cutter. If we have both, you see that we have all the pieces, and if we like, we can have also the cutter outside stock, so we can have some intersection between the various cutter and we can maintain all pieces. Let's say that we maintain everything, and you see in this way we have this mesh that's just a mesh, but we have no pieces. So if you like to work on the pieces, you can just directly go and add, for example, an edit mesh, and you see that if we go to the level of elements, we have all those pieces made as elements. So if we like to have all separate mesh, we can just close the selection, and then we can go in the explode. We can set, for example, 180 degree. We decide to explode two objects, and we set to explode, and let's call it text pieces, and then press enter. So now we have the various pieces, and now we are talking about all separate meshes. Just this one because was out as a wrong naming, so we can pick the last one, Ctrl C, and then there on this one, Ctrl V, and this one is the 14. So we have all the meshes needed. Okay, so that's the way we can use to create something like that. Let's say that we like to start creating something more complex, and to do something like that we have to decide to use more complex mesh. So let's remove this one, and we can create our final text. Okay, we are going to create something that doesn't exist in reality, so it's just a test, and let's call it our logo will be something like sky diving. Okay, and this one can be can use a different text. This one can be an F. Let's say that the size is maybe 25, maybe it's too little, let's say 85 centimeters. Okay, and I think we can add also a logo. Let's say that maybe we can use some circle to create, let's change the color. Okay, we can use some circle to create something strange. Okay, to do shape with this one, we go on the first one, right mouse button, convert to editable spline, and then attach with all the other shape. Nice. There we can go to have some boolean, so we go there in boolean, and this one is union. So we go there, and there, 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 and there. And we have our little logo about a cloud. So now we can go inside the bevel to create the 3D version. We can go to have the height there. Let's see how much is big. Let's go to maybe 10, and then we go to have a little bit of beveling, and we go to have maybe 1 centimeters, so it's just a little bit. We can add maybe just 1 segment to have a little bit more, and let's call it this one cloud logo, and then we select this one to do the same. So we use the bevel, okay, and we have a nice looking bevel. So now we need to create something related to the environment and the logo, and so let's create a material for this one, and maybe this one can be just a white material. Let's go to maybe we can use mental ray as rendering engine. So advanced, and then there we can choose mental ray. This one will be the cloud, and we go to use an arc design, and we can go to have a similar to white color. We can have a little bit of reflectivity. It will be glossy. Okay. And then the IRR for the reflection sorry, will be 165, and we have our cloud there. Let's go for the text, and we go to create something more complex. Let's try to create something with a little bit of illumination on the side. So we need two different material. So we can try to have a blend material, keep all map, it's not a problem, and we need a mask. The mask can be a gradient ramp. Let's make it visible inside the viewport. And I like to have a different mapping. So the UV map will be the number 2 and will be over the x-axis and fit. So this one will be the map channel number 2. And let's go to up the shaded one. So I see that we have some problem there with text. So on side of bevel, let's generate and let's avoid problem. Okay, so we have a nice mesh. Let's go back to the map there. I have some problem to see the map, so we have to make some render to be sure we have the right map. So let's assign this one, and we can copy this one and paste as diffuse there as an instance. So then we can go inside the renderer and render preview. Okay, we are able to see the gradient now. So this one, I like to be sure that we have the right material. Nice. And I like to have it more white. Okay, back to this one. We have to use there, let's say something like and there we'll have so black, white, black, and then we'll have other color there. So there we have again black, black, and then white. There we'll have really near with a low gradient, and back to the render. Okay, so you see that we have just a line over the side. In this way we can go back there and assign this material, and in this way we should have, for example, let's say a dark gray, and there a blue, something like a blue lighting. Again, let's see, and as you can see, that's right. So we can work on this material. The material will be really simple. Let's start from this one. This one will be the blue light. We can copy this color with the right mouse button, and then we can have a mental ray material. We go for an arc design, and we have just a blue, we have no reflectivity, and we have the self-illumination. Let's paste there, and let's say that this one is unitless, so we use just a number to decide how much illumination we have, and we have also the global illumination created by this lighting. And if we go to render, a self-illumination. Nice. So on the other side we have the other material, this one, and we can have an arc and design. We'll have a really dark gray with a nice reflectivity, maybe 0.4, with a huge amount of glossiness, and we can have maybe a map to control the reflectivity. Let's say that we have maybe let's try with a cellular map. So you see we have some strange coloring. Let's say that this one is fractal, so it's more complex, and it is maybe 6 there. Let's see if the size is nice. As you see, the size is too big, so let's go to have maybe 0.25, and again a preview. Okay, you see that we have this kind of effects over the surface, and we can copy this one and paste over the bump too, but I like to have a really little bump over the surface. Nice. We can have a little bit of variation for the coloring, so let's copy this one and let's go inside the material, and we get to have a composite. Let's use another level, and the first one will be a gradient. Let's use a gradient ramp, and let's say that the inner color will be really dark. Let's say maybe this one, and there maybe we'll have a little bit of blue, but will be really dark. Okay, we need another UV map, so let's use a UV map to be sure that we have the one I like to have. UV map planar 1. So this one is planar and 1, and let's see if it works. It is working, but you see it's going in the wrong direction, so we have to go inside the material there, and we have to rotate this one by let's say 90 degrees, and this one should be darker. Okay, let's try again, and we have it. Nice. So then I like to make this cloud more little. Let's go to set the pivot to the center, and this one is something like that. Okay, let's see from the front. Okay, and let's go to have show safe frame. And then we need the light. Let's go for standard light. We get to have a skylight to have a little bit of illumination. Then we'll use probably a color map or maybe a texture. And then I like to start adding also some lighting. So let's go in the standard light, and we have the area omni and the area spot. Let's start to add some lighting. So let's try to have a light from the side, and we can move it a little bit. Let's set the camera from the front, so this one will be one of our camera. So there we have camera 1, and let's change a little bit to this one, and I like to change a little bit the focal, and then we can go more near. Nice. Let's say that this one is perfect. So that's the first light, and this one will be obviously an area light, and we have to change the scaling there. So I like to make it bigger. Let's say maybe something like that, and it needs to be bigger on the other axis too. Okay, nice. This one will be white. Let's say decay inverse square, and the decay will start there, and let's say that this one is maybe 2. Let's see a preview, and you see that's our basic illumination for the moment. And we can go to have another light from there. This one will be warmer, so let's go for something like that, maybe with less power. So now we have to start tweaking the lighting. So let's see the illumination with the second one, how it is working. Okay, so you see it's not illuminating so much the various things, so maybe we can change and say that it is starting there, and we can change a little bit the color to have something less warm. Perfect. Now we can set to on the other one, and let's see with this one how it looks. You see that now we have a main illumination. Then I like to have also a backlighting. Using the shift key we can copy this one, and let's set to down, and this one will be white. Let's say that this one is working just maybe on the, let's say also the overshoot, but before we can make it bigger. Okay, this one is working maybe just over the diffuse, maybe just over the specularity, and let's say that this one is higher than the other. Let's try with a really high. Okay, you see that it's visible. Let's say maybe that this one can be a little bit bluish, and let's say that we have a little bit or more little for the decay, and this one will be higher as energy. Okay, now we need something all around an environment. So maybe we can create a sphere. Let's say sphere. Okay, and this one can be in this way. If we try to render, we should have just, you see, a dark things, because the sphere is not illuminated. So first of all we need more segments. Let's say environment base. We go to assign this one, and this one can be maybe let's go to see which kind of color will be nice. For the moment let's go for an arc and the sign. We'll have no reflectivity on this one, and the map maybe can be let's say gradient ramp, and let's say that we have maybe there a darker color. Let's imagine something like death, and okay, you see that's the map. Let's say that this one is radial, and we can invert. So sorry, delete this one, copy, and paste there. And maybe there, this one can be Leighton. Let's see how it looks in render. And it's obviously dark, so we need to light this one. Let's copy, and we can have the self-illumination there, self-illumination, and we use a map. Let's say that this one is lower. Maybe let's try with 0.15. Let's go for an higher illumination. Okay, you see that it's better than before, but we can tune it also inside the compositing software. Again, I like to go and pick the backlight. So the area 3, and I have more lighting. So let's go for 7. And this one will be lighten 2, so let's go for 1, 5, and this one can be higher, let's say 4. Let's go to select a nice resolution like the HD TV, and let's go for a lower resolution and make a preview. Okay, you see that the illumination is a little bit better. We'll change the gradient coloring and the contrast later. And let's go in the render elements. We'll need for sure a self-illumination. So if we go to render, that's our path, so we have to decide how to work with it. So we can need, for example, a mask. So this one can be, for example, the object ID 1, and then we go to create an object ID, and now if we go to do something like that, you see that we have now also a mask to control where we like to pick the self-illumination. We have just to go there and say that this one has the filtering too. Okay, nice. So we have a basic lighting, we have a basic environment, and I like maybe to add a structure. So let's make a copy, clone, and we can use the lattice. Okay, you see that we have a structure there. Let's say that we have just a sleuths. It is obviously more little, and we have maybe more sides. Okay, and this one can be maybe let's try to use a dark color. So let's go to have an arc design, and we'll try to have a black color, really dark. We assign this one, and let's say that we have the reflectivity, and maybe we have something like 0.5, and the reflectivity is higher. I like to see how it works. The first thing we see is that the reflection is too high. Let's go to 25, and maybe we can have the IRR, so we can say maybe 2, and I like to have a little bit of anisotropy, and we can check the rendering gain. It should be a little bit better than the previous test. You see that the reflection are nicer. We have just some color variation, and I like to try with a different color. So let's try to see what happens if we have let's save before, and then we go for something cold, something warm. Let's get to render. It seems nicer, and then I like to add also let's select the camera, and let's go to set the target. So the target is there. Let's go to set another render elements, and this one will be a z depth, and the z depth will be the target is the, let's say, 500, the minimum, and let's go to see the maximum can be maybe 100, maybe 1100. Let's render so we can see the z depth path. Okay, we have it. We have to add the filter. So let's go there and we set the z depth with filter. Nice. So now I like to start animating the text. So let's remove the grid using the G key. Let's pick just the logo and set the isolation mode.